The sun's first rays peeked through the heavy curtains of the lavish bedroom, casting a soft glow on the silk sheets. You stretched and sighed, feeling the familiar mix of hope and dread that greeted you each morning. This wasn't the life you had imagined for yourself, but it was the one you were living, married to Jungkook, the feared leader of a powerful mafia family by the arrangement of your parents. After completing your morning routine, you descended the grand staircase knowing you wouldn't find Jungkook at home. As always, he had left early, slipping out before dawn to attend to his shadowy affairs. His presence in the mansion was like a ghost, seen only in the fleeting glimpses as he returned late at night. Life with Jungkook was a study in contrast. His cold demeanor and indifferent attitude towards you made the vast mansion feel even emptier. Despite this, you couldn't help but notice the small ways he showed his care for you, hidden beneath his stoic facade. You began to recognize his subtle gestures, the way your favorite flowers would appear in the garden, the meticulous attention to your safety, the quiet replacement of things you mentioned in passing. These small acts of consideration began to soften your heart, especially since your parents had never shown such care for your feelings. They had treated you more like a pawn than a person, always maneuvering you for their own advantage. Despite the growing warmth you felt for Jungkook, you longed for his attention, craved a real conversation, but every attempt was met with indifference or outright avoidance. Today you decided to cook his favorite dishes for him with your hands, so at evening you went to kitchen and looked at the maids who were busy in their works. They saw you and asked, "Ma'am, do you need something?" "No, actually today I wanted to cook for Jungkook, so can you please help me with that?" "Ma'am, are you sure? If you get hurt, sir will shout on us." "Don't worry of anything, let me cook. I will cook really delicious food." As the sun set, you busied yourself in the kitchen preparing a meal with a mix of anticipation and nervous excitement. The maids, sensing your determination, offered their assistance and encouragement. This was your first attempt at cooking for Jungkook, and you wanted everything to be perfect. Outside, the sound of cars arriving drew your attention. Jungkook was home, and from the window you could see him stepping out of the car with a notorious criminal he had finally captured. Jungkook ordered his men to drag the criminal to the basement for punishment, his eyes never leaving the man as they followed his command. Despite his cold demeanor and ruthless reputation as a mafia king, Jungkook had not been immune to the care and affection you had shown him since the day you married. He remembered the countless times you had gone out of your way to ensure he was comfortable, the small gestures that spoke volumes, like leaving his favorite snacks in his study, tending to his wounds after a rough day. And the gentle way you always wished him good night even when he returned home late and exhausted. Jungkook had fallen for you deeply, but his love was accompanied by an overwhelming fear. He was acutely aware of the dangers that surrounded him. The constant threat of violence and betrayal that came with his position, he believed that by keeping his distance, by maintaining a cold and unapproachable facade, he could protect you from the darkness that encircled his world. He often told himself that he was not the right person for you. You deserved a life of peace and happiness, far removed from the chaos and peril of his mafia life. He couldn't bear the thought of you getting hurt because of him, of you being dragged into the shadows that he navigated every day. This fear drove him to act cold and distant, to avoid your presence even when it pained him to do so. When Jungkook entered the house, his eyes immediately found you in the kitchen. He approached you and asked, "Why are you cooking today?" He asked, his tone surprisingly gentle. "I wanted to cook for you and serve you with my hands." Jungkook looked at you for a moment, his cold exterior cracking just slightly. "Okay," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Take care while preparing." His words, though simple, filled you with joy. This was the first time he had spoken to you so kindly. "Will you eat the food I prepared?" You asked, hope lacking your words. "I will. I will fresh up first. Bring the food to the room when you are done." As he left, you felt a surge of happiness. For the first time, he was willing to share a meal you had prepared, a small but significant step towards breaking down the walls between you. With renewed enthusiasm, you finished cooking and carefully plated the dishes. You carried the tray to Jungkook's room, your heart pounded as you approached the door, knowing this moment could bring you closer to him. As you entered, you saw him freshly showered, sitting on the bed, immersed in his work. He looked up as you walked in, a subtle smile playing on his lips as he noted your happiness. You placed the food tray on the nightstand and turned to him. "Jungkook, the food is ready. Please try it." Just as you were about to leave, your foot caught on the edge of the rug and you tripped, falling directly onto Jungkook's lap. He froze for a moment, taken aback by the sudden closeness. His mind raced as he felt your warmth and the softness of your touch for the first time. Slowly, his cold exterior began to melt away. The walls he had built around himself started to crumble as he allowed himself to savor the moment. Your breath catching in your throat, Jungkook looked at you, your tensed face, and chuckled softly, amused by your reaction. "Sorry," you stammered, trying to get up, but before you could move, he gently pulled you back into his lap. "Where are you going?" he whispered into your ear, his breath warm against your skin. "Aren't you going to wait for my review of your food?" Your eyes widened in surprise, confusion clouding your thoughts. His actions were so unexpected, so unlike the distant man you had come to know. He picked up a piece of the food you had prepared and tasted it. "This is so good," he said, his eyes meeting yours with a warmth you hadn't seen before. "You did a great job." "Thanks," you managed to say, still processing the sudden closeness. As Jungkook enjoyed the dinner you had prepared, he found himself savoring not just the food but also the closeness you shared. For the first time, you felt truly connected, the warmth of the moment wrapping around you like a comforting blanket. Encouraged by his acceptance, you gently rested your head on his arm, feeling a profound sense of safety. Jungkook's heart swelled as he held you, a rare smile tugging at the corner of his lips. He released the warmth of your presence, your gentle touch, and the way you seemed to melt into him. It was a sensation he had denied himself for far too long. But as he continued eating while you sit on his lap, reality crept back in. His mind raced with the dangers that lurked around every corner of his life. The memories of countless threats, enemies, and the ever-present risk of harm haunted him. He knew that his world was no place for tenderness and vulnerability, especially not with you, the person he cared for most. With a heavy heart, Jungkook gently pushed you away, his expression hardening as he tried to distance himself once more. The warmth in his eyes faded, replaced by the cold, guarded look you had come to know so well. You looked up at him, confused and hurt by the sudden change. He looked like the old Jungkook again, the one who kept his emotions locked away behind an impenetrable wall. Are you alright? You asked softly, placing a hand on his arm. He looked at you, surprised by your touch. For a moment you thought he might push you away, but then he signed, the tension in his shoulders easing just a fraction. It's nothing you need to worry about. Jungkook, you pressed. I know you have your reasons for keeping things from me, but I want to help. I want to understand. You don't understand what you are asking for, he said finally. My world is dangerous. The less you know, the safer you will be. But what about you? You countered. Who looks out for you? I can take care of myself, but thank you, he said quietly. Jungkook, I care about you. You admitted, the words feeling heavy on your tongue. I know this marriage wasn't our choice, but I want to make it work. I want to be there for you. You shouldn't, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. If you get too close, you will get hurt, and I can't let that happen. But what if I choose to take that risk? You asked, your voice trembling. What if I want to be with you, despite everything? I'm willing to take that risk, Jungkook, because I love you. His eyes widened in surprise at your confession. You love me? His voice soft, almost disbelieving. Yes, I love you, and I want to be with you, no matter what. I will face any danger if it means being by your side. He took a deep breath, the walls he had built around himself beginning to crumble. I have loved you since the day we got married. But I kept my distance because I didn't want you to be pulled into my dangerous world. I thought I wasn't the right person for you. Tears welled up in his eyes as he continued, but seeing you here, so willing to stand by me, it means everything. I love you too, more than words can express, but I was afraid that my world would hurt you. You gently wiped his tears, your touch tender and reassuring. If you are with me, that's enough. I don't want anything else. I am willing to face any trouble as long as I have you to protect me. Jungkook's eyes glistened with unshed tears and he pulled you into a tight embrace. Everyone's always been scared of me. No one even saw past my rude behavior. But you saw me. You loved me for whom I am, even when I was cold and distant. Thank you, Ryan. I promise I will always protect you no matter what. As you pulled away from the hug, you wiped his tears again, a soft smile on your lips. Who told you that you are rude and cold? You are not. You have always been soft with me. And now look at you, crying like a little child and saying you are a rude mafia. Is this how a rude mafia looks? Jungkook chuckled at your words, a genuine smile breaking through his tears. You are right. You have always seen the real me, the part I tried to hide. He hugged you tightly again, pouring all the love he had kept bottled up for so long into that embrace. In his arms you felt his love, his fear and his promise to protect you.